So next week, yeah, you guys have a midterm. So midterm exam is cumulative, starts from week one, goes all the way through as normal. So there shouldn't be any surprises there. And yeah, we'll go through some things this week. It's we're experiencing, Brad and I were talking about this. We're now experiencing here in Southern California the deep freeze of 2026. So it's down to a frigid 63, I think, here.
Later.
And so we're, pray for us. Um, the Burlington Coat Factory has run out of parkas for us. So we don't know what we'll do, but we'll pray for us might survive. So anyway, we're all like, oh, it's like when the clouds come over, it's like, what happened? Where'd the sun go? Did it go out like in the movies?
It's the end.
The end time. It's here. Oh no, Jesus is coming. Ah. Oh, but we are going to look at participles again here. Let's pray and we're going to get started. Lord, thank you for an opportunity to be here and thank you for a review week to be able to look over some things. And we ask God for your grace for our country. And we would like to be able to continue to study scripture to be able to learn more about your word. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. I'm curious, did anybody have any interesting run-ins with people regarding the Super Bowl or the halftime show discussions? I posted something and this very liberal guy I posted Turning Point, right? I didn't end up watching it, but I posted, Turning Point. Here we go, good alternative. And after the Super Bowl halftime show, he goes, "You missed a really good show." And I said, "Well, I didn't watch it, and artistically, he was probably very good. I mean, because a lot of these people are artistically good, but I prefer a different objective moral value for my family. So I'm not going to waste my time with that moral trash." I said, well, instead, like I mentioned to you, instead, I went for a bike ride with my kids. I spent some time with my kids, and we went to church in the morning, bike ride in the afternoon, and we almost got to play our Scrabble in the evening. Ran out of time, but anyway, it's just an opportunity to be able to talk to people about things. So anyway, we
We have
have,
a we have a
yep.
very blended family when it comes to political views, to say the least. My wife's family is mostly left, and then my son-in-law, or I guess it'd be my brother-in-law, is a Marine, so he's toward the right. And so we've
Right.
just got the melting pot of things. Her sister, um, we went to her wedding with her partner a year and a half ago. It was a gay Mormon vegan wedding. To give you an idea of the melting pot. So Super Bowl
Wow.
halftime show is quite the thing. So we just try
A
to kind of
gay
hang
Mormon
back.
vegan wedding. Wow,
Yeah,
man.
we
Hey,
just
you
hang
get you
back.
get the crown this week.
Yeah, so we just hang back, and we're here as a family to hang out and spend time together and to avoid the political thing because there's no making anybody happy there. So
Yeah, you can talk about the weather.
yeah.
So yeah,
No, you
that's
can't
good.
because climate change.
Because of climate
Oh,
change. Politicize
they even stole that, didn't they? So,
that.
oh man, you're right. Fair point.
Yeah.
Alex, I see that you're on. How are you doing up there in what Montana now? I think you said, right?
I'm doing good so far. We haven't had a lot of snow, so
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know if it's over or not, but it should be coming. So you got your shovel?
yeah, we're ready.
Okay. All right. Did you get the big flat shovel or did you get the one that scoop it curls so when you push it, the snow flips over so you can keep going?
The curled one.
There you go. All right. That's a veteran move. All right. Jessica, I hope everything's going well for you. And let's see who else is on here. Oh, Brian's there and Ruben. All right.
Hello.
So, hello. How you doing, Brian?
Doing good. Just got off of work and so I'm
Doing the scramble?
doing the scramble.
Fair enough. All right. So, all right, Ruben, Jessica, good. Glad you're at least connected so far. We have some things to go through here. We have participles. So, this last weekend I was reading up on participles. There was about four books I was reading through. A couple of well, I guess more than there's three elementary Greek level books, and then one intermediate level book, and then another advanced book on participles. And come to find out, they serve as verbs. I can't tell you how many times I've read they don't serve as verbs, and they say that, but there's a couple of verses I found. These they basically serve as the verb of the passage. I'm like, stop this.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I was under participial angst this weekend, and I didn't like that, and so I'm mad. I'm mad at some of those Greek scholars that keep saying, oh, they're not verbs. They don't serve as main verbs. So it's like, okay, well, all of you just shut up, all right? Get your act together. Why don't you all get together, get a powwow, and come back and then help us out here. But anyway, so I was doing quite a little bit there, and it was good though because I expanded my understanding of some things on it. And just to let you know, as far as like the pamphlet, the thing I hand you on participles that outline, as I said before, it does not cover all participles, and it doesn't. Okay, it covers what the elementary Greek, and it's designed that way, what elementary Greek covers, but there are definitely more. And one of the things I'm very curious about is about and interested in looking into, and I'm reading on that with Wallace and different ones, was the participles that imply a conditional element. And one of the things, what was really impressed upon me was the need for context. So there were several things that they were consistent on. Nice change, and that is that uh, context really determines how you translate a participle. Okay, so it's heavily context oriented. So the context will imply if a participle is uh, temporal, or which we'll see temporal here. The context can imply if it's conditional. The context will imply. Now, everything is contextually oriented, but it seems that participles really are. And another thing that they consistently said, which they say it in this book too, and it's good to, reading other ones, just seeing them all agree on this, was that there's no consistent way to translate participles, okay? Because they're flexible. So they say you will need other words to help translate. You say, well, which words? Well, it depends on the participle. It depends on the tense of the participle. It depends on the tense of the main verb, and it depends on the context. So yeah, that's it. Um, so I think that's pretty. It's almost comical, but it's not. Um, and there was one, oh, where was it? Oh, where was it? I have it ready to go. I have some ready to go. I'm going to see if it comes up. I forgot to write it down, but there's one where there was a series of participles. There's like eight. And anyway, I thought that was really cool. Um, and then Leedy, he did the diagramming. I was going to show you the diagram. So, because I haven't gotten there on diagramming that yet. But are there any questions about Greek participles at this time as we get started? Anything from your review? Hopefully, you've reviewed them. Anything come up? Okay. Let's see here. I'm doing. Oh, good. All right. And there. Good. We're good. Okay. Well, no participle. So someone ground online here. Tell me about participles. What is a participle? Who's got that? What is a participle?
They're verbs that decline like adjectives and can sometimes act like nouns.
Okay. I'm not sure they say they're verbs, but they're verbals.
Yeah.
Okay, verbals. Yeah, that's right. That decline like adjectives, and they have a verbal aspect, and they got to act like nouns, can be used as a noun or other ways. That's right. Good. All right. So anybody online, how can participles be used? What are some of the main uses of a participle?
Yeah. Attributive use, substantive use, adverbial use.
Okay, right. That's right. Good. Now, some grammars, and this is one of the things I was looking up, was they divide them into two groups, adverbial and adjectival. And then under adjectival, as like a subgroup of that, one of the subgroups is substantive as a noun. Okay. For us, what we're doing is we're dividing those, and the book does that too. Substantival, adjectival, and adverbial. Now, so that's how that goes. Okay, so let's see here. What are the traits of what are the five characteristics of a participle?
Tense, voice, mood, number, and gender. What I missed?
In case.
Or is it case?
In case, gender, number, case, just like nouns and pronouns, and adjectives, gender, number, and case. It has each gender is the thing. So all three genders, but gender, number, case. Tense, voice, mood being participle. So mood, not mood, but anyway. It's not wrong to say that it has mood because they say that, although don't expect it to have indicative mood or a subjunctive mood or the like. So, okay, good. Excellent. Now, I need to pull up. Let's see. This here. Did anybody spend time looking over the diagramming guide or have any questions about that? What are the four tenses that a participle comes in?
Present, aorist, perfect, and future.
That's it. That's right. But there's only a few future, but it does come in future, so that's right. Uh-huh. Now, when it comes to the tense of a participle, how do we what is the necessary step to take in order to translate it accurately? What do you tell me about translating the tense of a participle?
It's in relationship to the main verb.
It's in relation to the main verb, which means what?
So if it's the main verb is past tense and the participle would be present tense, it's present to the past tense verb. So it'd still be past tense.
Right.
It'd be present in relationship to the.
That's right. Yep. It has to be taken, has to be translated in reference to the tense of the main verb. That's what it's related to. And to avoid that would be problematic. So that's good. What are some ways that the participle can be modified. What can modify a participle?
Article?
What's that?
You're saying like the article?
Article, okay. Yes, what else?
Also, if it's in the genitive, has a genitive for the one periphrastic
Oh, that
thing.
no, the periphrastic never has an article. The genitive absolute you're talking
Genitive
about.
absolute.
Yeah, yeah. That one it can do that. You're right. Um, but what can modify or what can go with a participle? Can be modified by what's that?
Is it the adjective? Oh, it is.
Adjectives. Adjectives can modify it. Participles can modify it. Can be modified by a prepositional phrase. So participles, yeah, participles, adverbs, direct objects can have its own subject, like in the genitive absolute. Yeah, so again, we have to take into account each element of the participle and if it's a phrase or not, how that works. So what's the first when you go to after you've parsed the participle and you've given it a basic ing ending. In one of the books I read, maybe I think it was Mounts. I think Mounts even said, he goes, yeah, give it an ing ending. I mean, just to mark it. I'm like, oh, good for you. All right. I'm glad to see another one say that. But you give it an ing ending just to indicate to you, hey, I'm dealing with a participle. So once you do that, you want to know how the participle is being used in a sentence. What is the very first critical question you have to ask?
Does it have an article?
Does it have an article? That governs a lot. So is there an article preceding it that matches it how? Gender, number, case. That's it. That's right. So gender, number, and case. We gotta ask that. So on my chart, I've provided for you translating hints, suggestions, and also um, hints on diagramming. We shall proceed here. Okay. Let's take a look at some things here. Oh, hold on one second here. Okay. Let me do one thing here. One second. All right. Aorist participles. Let's look at our aorist participle. So last week it was present tense participle, and a present tense participle would be translated how in reference to the main verb.
Present tense, concurrent.
Concurrent, that's right. Absolutely concurrent. So, and now we have aorist tense participles, and aorist tense participles would be diagrammed how?
It's related to the main verb.
Right.
So if it's in the past, well,
It would be like past tense of the past tense verb. So it'd be
even prior to
It-
that.
Typically, yes, prior to the main verb's time.
Yeah.
Usually. Now, not always, but usually. Okay. So, but that's right. And that's what we have in the notes here. Aorist is, uh, participle's action is typically prior to, that's antecedent of, but prior to the action of the main verb. Right. Okay. And let's see. I like the illustration they gave there at the beginning. It was really good. I like that. From Peru, am I? Was it? Yeah. So here we are. That was good illustration. Let's see here. Masculine, we first aorist active and first aorist middle. So they give you a breakdown of this. You don't have to memorize this, but you have these forms here. You have the first aorist here on page 198. They give you a breakdown. A first aorist active participle, masculine, feminine, neuter, singular, and plural. The first one is the aorist middle participle. Wait, hold on, they give you the other one on the previous page. Watch 197. Aorist active participle. Bottom page 197. You have ha lusas is the one who loosed. So we have to use helping words all the time. It's just the way it is. Be like the one who and then loosed. Or of the one who loosed. That would be the genitive case. So the genitive case still can carry the possession, the of, the aboutness. The dative case, notice for the dative case, it's to or for the one who loosed. So there's still a dative, potentially a location aspect to it, or to the one who like you hit the ball and data the indirect object to the house or to the one. So that's still there. And then you have the accused of the one who loosed, which would be in the potentially the direct object slot. And the same thing for the plural. So they really are working very similarly as nouns or adjectives work. So, but they have a verbal aspect to them, a verbal trait to them. On page 198, you have the aorist middle, and so the aorist, the middle voice comes out. Here's the one who loosed for himself. If it was passive, it could be the one who was loosed. So that's a possibility. Um, and of the one who loosed for himself. So that carries the genitive case, the ofness about with that. Dative, accusative, same thing there. Then they give you the breakdown of these things. Notice the sauce for lusas, and the feminine is lusasa. So there's a sa, basically a sa, say, son for the feminine, which follows the first declension noun endings for the feminine there, but also for the plural, sai, son, sai, sas. The I own, ice, os. Those should still be familiar to you. You should probably recognize those. You wouldn't always necessarily recognize that there was a participle, an aorist participle. Notice even though it's aorist tense, what does it not have that aorist tense verbs in the indicative have? The epsilon at the beginning. That's right. And why the augment? Yeah. And why does it not have the augment?
Is the augment talking about something that happened in the past, like time or an action that happened in the past where
It
without the augment, it's not.
right. It indicates temporal time, often something in the past. That's right. And basically with the indicative mood, and participle doesn't have that. So
based on
exactly on the main verb.
if it's
So
the future, then it would just be the present. If the main verb was in the future, then the aorist tense.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah,
participle would be.
that's right.
Yeah.
In general,
So it'll throw
typically,
you off.
exactly. Yeah. And it's because it's not past oriented. And just so you know, some aorist tense verbs in the indicative mood are translated present tense. Okay. So I know. There's some, but right now, because what we're learning right now is, this is round, this is square, that's we're learning, but there are some exceptions to that. But it's just presented because it depends if it's what kind of aorist it is. There's different kinds of aorist tense. Not all aorist tense are equal. So those are some of the forms. The passive form has the theta in there. The theta is a big help for the passive. The middle has the mu. So menon, lusa menon. We have first aorist middle, lusas menos, and then menon. The feminine does the aase aane. It's consistent. Ion ice os. That's consistent, and it's very helpful that way. But the passive, feminine passive, also has the ion isos, but also it does the alpha, the ace a on for the feminine, for the singular in the feminine, which is the same as the active. So yeah, what's up?
Just with the theta added.
Theta, yeah, face, thesa, theses, these, thesan. So. Then there's second aorist forms. So the forms do not change the meaning. Forms have nothing to do with meaning. The forms just have a different way of writing the same thing. It's kind of like names in English. There's I don't know, Greg and Greg, and there's a Greg, Greieg, Greg. There's uh, Jeff with a Geoff, I think it is, and then Jeff, Jeff. It doesn't change the meaning that I know of, but it's a different way it doesn't even change the pronunciation. It's just a matter of how you spell it, just a change in spelling, but it doesn't carry a meaning difference. But these should be straightforward. So here we have, though, on page 201. Now, if there are any questions about the first and second aorist forms, the passive still is passive, active is still active, middle is still middle. Um, and it comes in each gender number and case. Okay. Attributive use. Okay. Identical to the present tense uses, at least the ones that we're looking at. Okay. And the ones that we're looking at for our elementary Greek time, attributive use. What is an attributive use participle? What does it do?
It modifies the noun or pronoun.
It does, and it modifies it in such a way as to what?
It tells you something about the nouns or like an adjective.
Okay. It does. It does modify it that way. Okay. Making some changes on this side here. Second. There we go. No. This is weird. Okay, hold on. It's doing something. There we go. I think, did that work? No. I have to change views. All right, I'll just leave it like that for now. Maybe they'll change back. No. Zoom does not always cooperate. Okay. We'll just keep going here. So yeah, the article, when present. And now why does it say when present? It's not talking about tense. It means when it's there. When present means when it's there. Why would it say when there?
Because that's required for it to be attributed, for it to modify the noun. It has to be both the verb and the noun, or the participle and the noun have to have a verb in order for it to tell us that it's modifying that same.
Um, Not quite. It says when present because it doesn't have to be there for it to be attributive. So what happens is if you have an article that modifies a participle, gender, number, and case, that means it's not adverbial. If you don't have an article, it could be almost anything. All right. No article, it could still be attributive and it could be substantival. It's most likely adverbial. All right. But if there, so it says the article when present for an attributive, because it's not always present, it's usually present, occurs directly in front of the participle, which modifies expressed noun or pronoun. So, and so that's what that means there. So it doesn't have to be there to be an attributive participle. If it is often best translated and attributed participle in English relative clause. This tells us, this shows us one reason why it's important for us to study Greek, because if you were to study the Bible based on the English only, and that's not wrong, that's not sin. I get it. Some people don't go to, are not able to study languages, but the perk is if you were to study it and you see a relative clause, you might think, oh, this is a relative clause. I'm looking for an antecedent. Totally normal. However, it's actually coming from, and many of them do, relative clauses, many do come from participles, which still does need an antecedent, but it's translated that way to help make it sense in English, but not because Greek has a antecedent or has a relative clause. So it's a function of the English language, and we're catering the translation to English to be able to understand. That's what it is. In fact, there was a passage today I was looking at this morning. They didn't even translate the main verb. I was like, well, NESB just left it out completely. And they just went with a participle. So I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. And I had a meeting, so I didn't get back to it. But I was going to jump in there and go, okay, let's translate this with it and without it and compare that. But that ship sailed. So that was my morning. This morning was doing participles and last couple days. So notice we have article and present directly in front of the participle. Now it can be directly in front of the participle in a couple ways. The participle can be before or after the noun. And I believe it also can be like the adjective, article, participle, adjective. So in between. But I think that's rarer. You have article, noun, the first one, ha mathetes, ha elthon. So that's article, noun, article, participle. Or you can reverse that, where you would have article, participle, article, noun. Okay, and they'd be translated the same way. The participle would agree, of course, with the noun as well as both articles in gender, number, and case. So all four of those words would agree in gender, number, and case. Because that's what indicates, hey, I'm with this guy over here. I'm with this one over here. We're all working together. We're friends. We have shirts on, same color shirts, going to Disneyland type thing. That's how Greek language does it. The substantival use and that's a fancy word once again for being function as a noun. The article, when present, translation, it may not be present, but usually is, occurs directly in front of the participle, which modifies an unexpressed noun or pronoun. In other words, you have the article and you have the participle, and there isn't a stated noun that matches it in gender, number, and case. It's implied. That noun is implied. They don't have to do that. That means in English, though, you have to supply it. Okay. And that's usually something along the lines of the one who or the ones who or that which if it was neuter. You could, depending upon the context, depending on what the context calls for, the man who or the men who or the women who or the children who. You could, depending on the context, supply that. And because it's implied by the participle if the context shows you, hey, we're talking about children this time. Okay, well, then it's plural and neuter. Okay. All right. The children who did this. So the children who do that. Now, if it's a substantival use, it would typically it goes on a stilt in the slot that the noun that unspoken noun that is modifying goes in. So it goes there. It could be the object of a preposition. So preposition, after that, you put a stilt, up goes the participle. That participle could have a prepositional phrase attached to it, or another participle, or an adjective, or an adverb, or something. It could have no, I won't say that. Couldn't have that. Okay, so attributive use, giving its attribute to another noun or something like that. A substantival use, it is the noun of the sentence in that location. And adverbial use. This is the predicate position, meaning the article is not directly in front of the participle. So it doesn't have an article in front of it. And there are four common uses of the temporal, of the uh, participle in this way. Okay. And the adverbial participle can be used on 202. You should know these four. There's a temporal use, causal use, there's a means and attendant circumstance. All right. So I'm going to pull this up here. All right. Let's try this. All right. Online, you should be able to see the. Oh, you guys can't? Okay. Should all be able to. There we go. Now it's cooperating. Good. Okay. Oh, by the way, this is the heavens opened right there. Opened here. So we have the heavens opened. This participle, DNA mogenus there, is in the predicate position for the heavens. So anyway, that was one of my big discussions. But let's look at this. Temporal. We're going to look at temporal here from John 16:8. We're going to look this up here. They give it to us here. So talking about L-phone. So L-phone's right there. And so notice what's going on here. There's a he here and there's a he here. So there's two he's. What is going on with those two he's? It comes from, here we are, these words right here. So tell me, look at those first four words of verse 8 in the Greek, kai, elthon, kainos. Okay. I have a friend who's in the hospital, went there today. He's not doing well, so just checking to see if that's them. So major blood clot stuff, and he went in. So now he has two in those lungs. So it's a dangerous situation. So sorry for looking at my phone there, but that was just wondering if I'm gonna have to run. So tell me about the he's. So I'm asking you about English, but you need to look at the Greek. I'm talking about the first four words of the Greek sentence. And elthon comes from erchomai. Okay. That's the aorist active participle. So we're talking about an aorist participle. It's active, nominative, masculine, singular.
Is it that it agrees with the next word, the pronoun icon?
The kainos, it does agree with it in gender, number, and case. All right. So what's that telling you?
It's telling me that it relates to that. So we got the verb afterwards that he, what is that? Future tense will convict. Which
Yes,
is also
it is.
would match with he being third person singular.
Uh-huh.
So all these things kind of relate to one another in as a all having like the same gender number case.
Uh-huh.
So they're kind of like one discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So he will convict and he, the one who is coming or whatever, all are talking about the same thing.
Correct. Yeah, they are. That's right. They are definitely talking about the same thing, and they are working together. That's good. Any one else on how there are two he's in English and why? Anybody online?
Is it for the emphatic, like emphasis?
Good question. I don't know that it's emphasis, it's clarity. Sometimes it's emphasis, so that's a good choice. Where's the first he?
Well, one comes from the pronoun and the other one comes from the participle.
Okay, right. A kainos here. Notice it's convenient for this Bible program here. But notice when I put the cursor over kainos, look at which pronoun, which he lights up. Okay. Electronically, they've given us a Gerber's baby help here, saying it's this one here. It's not always accurate, by the way. But you're right. So the first way, it's kai, elthon, a kainos, and in English, we say and he, a kainos, when he comes.
So is that kind of like a subordinate clause, like a pseudo
It's
subordinate clause?
yes, exactly. It is that's a pseudo subordinate clause. You have to put it in there in a subordinate sort of way. It definitely is. The participle is getting background information. Okay. That's almost always what it's doing. And something like this. What the verse says is, and he will convict the world concerning sin and righteousness and judgment to come. But the participle by itself gives a temporal location, a temporal element to to what's going on here. And you'll notice that this is air. So when he comes, it's just like when it happens. It's not saying when it will happen, not saying time-wise, but when he happens, he will. So notice he comes first. It's actually implied. The aorist tense nature of the participle, when he comes, he will do it. So he's going to come first, and after he comes, he's going to convict the world. So there's an implied coming here before this happens. And he, Holy Spirit, when he comes, will convict the world concerning sin, righteousness, and judgment to come. All right. Those three words in English, when, temporality, he comes, are embedded in that participle. Pretty cool, huh? How do we know it's a temporal participle? Context. What you do is you read it in different ways. So, for instance, is it causal? Communicates the reason why the verbal action is performed. And because he will come, he will convict the world. He will convict the world because he comes. No, not really. That's not the cause of it. The cause of his conviction of the world would be based on their sin, not his coming. It seems to make more sense that it's giving a temporal timing of the convicting and not a causal nature of the convicting. The causal nature of the convicting is he's holy and they're sinners. They need they need convicting. There needs to be judgment. And means, by means of, it doesn't work. And he, by means of coming here, will convict the world of sin. No, that doesn't make sense. He doesn't convict the world by means of coming. No, that won't work. So you just work through each of these. What are the options here? And which one actually makes the most sense? How are we doing with that? We good?
The verb, main verb, Ellenze,
Yeah.
it's future,
Uh-huh.
right? Did we already say that?
Go ahead. Yeah.
And so the aorist usage there
Uh-huh.
has to be not future, like preceding the future.
Prior
Right?
to it. That's right.
So that kind of gives you a clue to your translate, whatever, however you're gonna put it in English. If we didn't have the English there, we'd have to be thinking some way to make that like a
Correct.
present tense action.
Basically, it's not always present tense. It's prior to the future. But prior to the future of when he's talking about, hey, he said he will come. Well, now that could be a past thing that was said with the future tense, and so the aorist needs to precede that. Okay, he said that he will come. So
Yeah.
So that's why it's so context driven.
Because go back before that, he's saying, "I will send him to you," right?
Yeah, let's see here. Yes, the promising of the Holy Spirit. Tell you the truth, it is not to your advantage I go away, for if I do not go away, the helper will not come to you. But if I go away, I will send him to you. And he, the helper, when he comes.
Yeah.
So now, yeah, that makes it a lot easier looking at it like that. Yeah, a lot easier in the context there. When he comes, he will convict the world concerning sin, righteousness, judgment, God, and judgment. So good. All right. You see causal in action here in context. Make every effort to come to me soon. And Paul's like, oh, that's interesting. Hmm. Look at that. All right. There we go. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong verse, wrong Greek verse. Okay. Explanatory here. It says adverbial causal, but he's explaining what's going on. For Demas, having loved the present world, has deserted me and gone. So why the verbal action, verbal ideas performed? Because he loved this present world, he deserted me. It's explanatory. It's not temporal when he loved the present world. Although it's probably the case. But Paul's not giving it as an explanation like that. He's giving it like having loved this world, this aorist tense one, is it's a causal reason. He loved this world. That was the reason he deserted me. A dear friend of my wife's is looks like they're heading for divorce. Causal reason: her husband cheated on her 3 times. Huh. After 20 plus years of marriage. Nice. Yeah, coward. Anyway, I don't have an opinion. But there's consequences, there's causal things, there's reasons for it. Galatians 3:13. However, the law is not of faith. On the contrary, he who practices them shall live by them. Let's see here now. No one is justified by the law. Now that no one is justified by the law before God is evident, for the righteous man shall live by faith. However, the law is not of faith. On the contrary, who practices them shall live by them. Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law, and here we are. This is by means of having become a curse for us. Communicates the means how this was accomplished. By means of. That's the idea. And that's a really big deal. So
Does it have anything to do?
okay. Having become, let's see, verse 13 here. So this is from Ginomai. Having become for us curse. So this would be an adverbial. Having become for us a curse. Not when. Notice this, not when this happened. That would be a temporal interpretation. This is uh, a means of, by becoming. Attendant circumstance. What is that fancy phrase? Matthew 9:7. communicates an action that is coordinate or parallel to the main verb, thus taking on the mood of the verb and is translated as a finite verb with and inserted between the two verbal ideas. And that's why it says, and he got up and went. It sure, in English, it sure looks like two main verbs there. Got up and went. Well, in Greek, it is. While it's diagrammed under the verb, it's a tenant circumstance. In other words, these two actions occur at the same time. They occur together, treated for English purposes as a finite verb. Slap an and on there, concurrent with or along with the main verb. Kind of weird, huh? It's weird.
That feels like another one of those sort of like pseudo subordinate clause kind of things. At least in the Greek, because it's like, and having arisen, he got left, or him having got up, or whatever.
Sure.
So it kind of like feels like it isn't the verb in and of itself, but it's like a second thing, like it might be an attendant circumstance happening or something.
Right. Yeah, just like that. Yeah. So it's very interesting. I don't think those ways in English, because we would just make that a main verb, but they don't do that in Greek. So it's adding what they would consider to be critical information here. We don't, if he just said and he went home, it's like, well, he didn't get up, or it implies he got up, or how did he go home? It's like, no, and he got up. That's part of what's going on here. And with the healing, right? So and he got up. So it wasn't just that he got healed and he laid there. No, it's time to get up and go do something. And he walked home. Must have been an amazing experience to walk home. So having not done that for so long. We take these things for granted. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the videos of people who put on these they have these special glasses they've made for people that are colorblind, endochrome, I think they're called. And people will give them to them. They're like $500. I mean, they cost a lot. That's fine.
Oh, I
But
have those.
you have some? Yeah. Do they work?
Yes. Yes. Mine are through a company called Pilestone, but yes, they do work.
That's awesome. Did somebody get you a pair of those for a birthday or something like that as a present?
So Brianna did, my wife, right before our wedding, so that I could wear them to see her walking down the aisle.
Well, that's a pretty good first look.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. And what kind of color blindness did you have?
Deuteranopia. So I'm red-green colorblind. So everything's more brown, yellow, blue.
And so what was your experience when you put them on?
It's weird. Your eyes, it takes you a while for your eyes to actually adjust to everything because everything's just like very stark, like red, but then like your brain starts kind of filtering out what's not supposed to be red and what's supposed to be like green, what's supposed to be sorted into its proper place, and then you can kind of see everything, and it's a little you kind of catch yourself being able to be like, oh, I thought this was green this whole time, and it's not green.
Very cool. Well, there's a lot of videos out there of people who put these on and they see color for the first time, and grown men cry. It's awesome. And my point is the experiential nature of life that God has created. We often take it for granted. We take for granted for a lot of people. We can see colors like, whatever. But it's these secondary qualities. That's not a right way to put it. The qualities that are not material in nature, they're not matter, are the qualities that actually matter in life. They're the significant ones. Because I mean, as far as I know, um, atoms don't have a color. I mean, or they're all the same color or something, but there's colors have to do with wavelengths and things like that. Not necessarily the atomic level. But it's what matters are the secondary qualities and not what naturalists want to focus on is just the empirical realm. Of course, that includes love, that includes forgiveness and patience, all those things. But God has created our world, our universe to be experienced and to enjoy Him forever in a future location. It's just amazing. And so this guy to have gotten up and walked, I'm sure he's one happy camper. We just get up in the mornings and we're like, oh my gosh, my foot fell asleep. Oh, come on, right? Type thing. But no, changing. It's just a life-changing thing. And so that's part of why it's in there. And he got up and walked. And so it's bringing that part out in the text like he did this himself. He's a changed man. So, but when the crowds saw this, saw what? That he got up and walked. They were awestruck and glorified God who had given such authority to men. So that's it. That's part of it. It's part of the text. Okay. Any questions on the temporal, causal, means, or attendant circumstance?
So like you said, the best way to figure these out is just by context.
It really is. And just like a Rolodex, you just try them. Like, okay, what about this one? Which one fits best? And context is really the governing factor for participles. It influences everything, but few things rely on context for interpretation and understanding as much as participles. They are just context driven. They really are. So
So you're still applying the does it have an article? No, it doesn't. And then getting over to like this must be an adverbial usage, and then you're like, okay, what do I do? I can put
yeah, I
this.
skipped. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have skipped that. I apologize. You're right. So here, we can go, Kai, and then we have a participle there. Doesn't have an article in front of it. It does not. And from there, we go on the right-hand side of the chart, and we haven't yet, we're going to be looking at here a little bit. We haven't looked at the other parts of the chart yet. So we would drop down to, on the right-hand side, drop down to the adverbial side, and then we'd say, okay, um, I'm going to pull it up here. Oh, closed. Okay.
Is adverbial? Did you say before adverbial is one of those like least used ones?
No, it's used quite a bit. No. So what I said though was if it doesn't have an article before it, it is most likely adverbial. It could still be an attributive use or substantival use, but those are rare. Okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Does this come up on your screen, folks? This right here? This chart? No, it didn't come on your screen. All right, I have to do that. Do this. So we're talking about the chart here. And the number one question, of course, is there an article preceding the participle that's same gender number case? If yes, it's going to be either attributive or substantival, most likely. We'll get to the other dative one here. But if it's no, then you have some other options, including adverbial, which is very common. However, just because something is a participle is adverbial, I'm sorry, rephrase that. Just because an article participle does not have an article doesn't mean it's adverbial. There are other options, and two of those options are attributive use or substantival use. Those are still legitimate options, even without an article. Basically, you're praying for an article. Okay? So you're like, Dear Jesus, change scripture such that it has an article to make it easier for me to interpret. So, anyway, but if it doesn't have an article, it's more likely something else. And we're going to turn to the something else here in just a second. So, any questions on the article versus no article and jumping down here to the adverbial use? Notice in the adverbial present tense, you often translate it while or as, or aorist tense is when or after, or future tense before. However, we saw some adverbial use here where it was not translated. Aorist tense was not translated when or after. The attendant circumstance he translated along with. He got up and went home. So we don't do it there. So this is a general guideline. Okay. And also by means of. It's a really good one to use for means is translated by means of something. All right. Okay. If we're good, I'll bring up.
Dr. Crocker, I do have one question.
Yes.
This chart that you're showing us now that's in our summary of Greek participles, does that branching out thing work the same for all of the four tenses of participles? Can we follow that chart for all of them? Okay.
Yeah. It works for all tenses, but it doesn't work for all uses. All right. So I don't have on here. There's several uses I don't have on. I don't have the conditional use of a participle on here. Okay. There aren't a lot of them, but there are some. So what this chart does is it gives something that's consistent with the elementary Greek uh, books that are out there. So it's designed to get you over the hump and begin thinking about Greek participles in an effective, hopefully an effective way. But it is not exhaustive. It's not exhaustive. So, and neither are the books. I mean, quite frankly, some of these elementary Greek books, some of them only have one chapter in participles. Can you imagine? One chapter? It's like, wow, okay, well, just give up on your students. And tell me you gave up on your students without telling me you gave up on your students. Anyway, but fortunately, this one here has, I think it's 3, or is it 4? We have one more there. I don't remember if it has a 4th one. No, they have 3, so that's okay. I'm used to taking 4. This other source I used, there was 4 weeks of it. But we did have a break last week for a review. So now I want to talk about 2 other uses. Maybe, at least 2 other uses here. Let me see here. Can I get that on there? Yeah. So we've talked about if it does have a article, then that matches the participle in gender number case, then it's probably going to be either attributive use, or if it doesn't have a noun that it matches, substantival use. It has an article, but does it have a noun that it matches gender number case or not? So right now we're not excuse me, we're not considering this one yet. Okay, so we're not considering this one yet. All right. But this we've looked at this, right? Right there. Then there's the no side. And so far, mainly what we've talked about is we've jumped down to if there is no article, hey, look, you need to realize that it's most likely going to be an adverbial use, which is very common under the verb. It could be attributive, it rarely substantival. So we looked at these. However, to be a little more thorough, we need to ask some more questions. If there is no article, it's an arthrous, the next question that you ask is this one right here. Is the participle used with a linking verb? And if the answer is yes, it's periphrastic. Fancy phrase for roundabout way of saying something. That's what periphrastic means. It means roundabout. All right. Not the kind you drive in Washington State, but it's a roundabout way of saying some stuff. So a periphrastic participle, the participle completes the thought of the main verb. It doesn't, we're not talking about adding to it like it did in the dependent circumstance. He got up and he went. Those are two different verbal ideas, okay, added together to give you a more holistic look at something. No, no, no. We're talking about literally completing the thought of something. Let me give you some examples here, okay? One of them we've had, I've showed you before. We're gonna start with that one. I got to get out of this. It's going to make a little bit more sense here. Okay. Here we are. There we go. So, for the grace, okay? And it's in dative case. And so based on context, we find out by grace. It's actually by the grace. By grace, look at this. We have esta. Now that is a linking verb. Okay. It's the present active indicative second person plural, and it comes from me, but it's a linking verb. Like esten is third person singular, but me here, right? Notice what's following it. Immediately following it is a participle without an article. It must not have an article. It cannot have an article to be periphrastic. So they're actually fairly easy to recognize. You have a linking verb, like me, followed by a participle with an article. If that's the case, then they're translated together as a unit. You, okay, notice this is a perfect passive participle. The perfect passive nature of the participle kind of dominates. Okay, because notice that this esten is an indicative verb. It's present active indicative, but it's been translated, you have been saved. And that perfect tense of the participle dominates the translation. When I say dominates, it's the main factor. It's not the only factor, but it's a dominant factor. So now you have this periphrastic participle combining with a linking verb to get across the idea of for you have been saved for by grace you've been saved by grace through faith. Now, by means of faith, maybe, I don't know. So it depends on your theology. But we have the blood of Christ, but through faith. Faith is there. This is all right. Through faith. Now, that's a periphrastic construction. Let me see. There's others. I don't know where they are right off. Let me see. Any questions on that periphrastic while I look up that periphrastic construction? They just link together to make one main concept.
Dr.
We-
Crocker, would
They
it
give us
be, oh, sorry.
no, they give zero other examples in here. I'm a little disappointed. Go ahead. You were saying.
I'm just wondering if this would be an accurate way of thinking about it or if I'm going off on the wrong track. But with that present tense verb, and I know you said it gets dominated by the other one, can it be thought of like you right now are in a state of having been saved? Like, is that how kind of the two tenses are working together, or am I way off?
I would have to do more research on that. I don't want to
Okay.
mislead you.
Sure.
I mean, that's a fair question. Okay. And I'm sure that question has been asked.
It's such a neat construction.
It is. It is. I would want to know if that nuance is there too. I would need to look into more. That's a good question. So you were going to ask them? Sorry that I don't have their answer yet.
I'm trying to make sure I understand properly. So the reason that we don't translate este as are, but instead have been is because of the participle being
Yes.
passive.
Yeah. Well, not just passive, but passive, perfect passive. Yeah.
Okay.
But the passive is that you have been, the passive nature is you're not saving yourself.
Hmm.
The salvation, something or someone else has saved you, and it's through grace, right? By means of, by grace, by means of grace. So, and then through, not by means of, it's by means of grace, but it's through or including faith of one sort. Now that there's a lot of theology in there. And some people want to say, well, that faith is a gift of God, and others will say it's not, and we'll duke it out, and for Jesus, we'll beat each other up, and the winner will come out on top. But yes, that's
Jesus will beat up your Jesus.
that's right. That's right. My loving Jesus will beat up your loving Jesus, your unloving Jesus. Heretical. So yeah, they work together.
Old Testament Jesus.
What? What's that?
Got an Old Testament Jesus. in
Old
this one.
Testament? Yeah. That's that's about it. Yeah, let's see here. I wanted to find
I've got a couple on ChatGPT, but I don't know if they're actually paraphrastic.
we'll find out. So give me the verses, please.
Luke 5:1.
Luke 5:1. All right. Happened and was pressing around as oh, here we go. He was standing by the lake. There we are. And he was, and this is standing. So thank you for looking that up. Was standing. Here we are. The isteme. This is I stand, right? And that's perfect tense with an imperfect participle. He was standing by the lake of Gennesaret. Gennesaret. Yeah, good. So here we have to linking verb followed by a participle makes it a periphrastic participle construction.
Yeah. That one technically kind of translates pretty well to English, right?
Well, yeah, it was standing. Well, notice the standing part in English is just a straight present tense translation of the participle. But in Greek, it's a perfect tense. And so that perfect tense nature of it doesn't really come through much. And so he was standing. It gives the ongoingness, and the was part. Was standing comes from the verb, but they work together in Greek for a fuller.
Yeah, okay. So instead of this, because it's perfect, you would think it without the, I'm asking, without the linking verb, it would just be because it's perfect. He stands.
He stood, maybe.
Oh, well, it's not imperfect. It's not.
Could be
passive.
he is standing.
He is standing. Or
Yeah,
he
because
stands or he is standing.
The standing doesn't really tell by itself. It's really dependent. It's really dependent on a verb. So if you change the main verb to is, yeah.
Oh,
If for English, it would really change it. Yeah. What's another one pop up?
it says Acts 1:10.
Okay. There it is. Okay. And as gazing intently they were. Third person plural, imperfect, with a present active participle, plural.
So the linking verb is after the participle here.
It is, isn't it? So you have the participle followed by the linking verb, but they are still next to each other, side by side, and still no article before the participle. But you're right, it does not always follow in this case. That's right. 11. I'm looking for. Huh. Wonder. This looks. Oh, this is weird. This is going to be a. Oops, sorry. It's the apparatus. Textual variant there. Oh, there we go. While you stand. That's not. I think that's adverbial. But here, this one's good. So we see that kai hos atenezentas, which is the participle, esan, into the sky, into the heaven, into the sky. Now here, what kind of participle is this one? Perimenoi, perimenu. So how's it being used?
Temporal.
Temporal. That's right. Temporal. What? And that's its type of adverbial participle. So it's an adverbial participle being used temporal while he was going. Present tense. What were we gonna say, Brad?
At first, I was thinking it's being used as a noun, but no, it's not.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
That's what I thought I was going to say. And it made sense now. You say, "Oh, the temple." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's fun."
Notice all of these purple here. All of them are participles. You're not going to get away from participles. It ain't happening. So now that I changed this screen, did that change for you guys too? Sometimes it does. Online. I can't see you, so
We still see the Acts 1:9 passage.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We will revisit it, but now when there's, is there an article? Is there an article? Yes is this direction. These are your two options. But if the answer is no, the next question you ask, does a participle, is it used with a linking verb? If yes, you will diagram it. Let me show you real quick how to diagram it right here. You'll have the linking verb here, and right next to it, no line between them, a still with a participle. Right there. Because and there's no line here because the linking verb and the participle form to make the verbal concept. So in order for them to form the verbal concept, you don't separate them. A line there means they don't come together. The lack of a line plus the still no article means they're coming together. Translate them as such. Okay? Okay, I want to introduce you to one more. Something called the genitive absolute. So the next question you ask, so is there a linking verb? Is there a participle? Is the participle with a linking verb? Is there a linking verb there? Yes, there is. You have paraphrastic use. But what if the answer is no? You know what? There is no linking verb, and there usually isn't. Then you have to ask, one, is the participle that doesn't have an article, is the participle in the genitive case with a genitive case subject to the participle that is different from the main verb. So you're asking three questions in there. So, okay, we have a participle that has no article. Great, not a problem. Is there a linking verb that occurs with it, either immediately before or after that participle? No. All right. We're good to go so far. Just keep going. The next question is a series of three questions. Is that participle genitive case? If it's no, keep moving. If it's nominative, dative, accusative, keep going. You're going to be moving down to the adverbial. But if the answer is yes, actually there is a genitive case participle here. It's like, okay, now we need to ask a couple more things. Does a genitive case participle have a subject that's also in the genitive case? Hint, it could also have a direct object. The participle could have its own direct object in the genitive case. So just because there's a genitive case noun there, it doesn't mean it's the subject of the participle. You've got to figure that out. So, genitive case participle with a subject that's in the genitive case. And this is critical. The subject of that participle must be different than the subject of the main verb. So in essence, there's two subjects. The genitive case participle indicates this. It's a flag. Oh, hey, I changed subjects by using the genitive case. That gives me the right to do it. Stop complaining. Or whatever, I don't know. So, let's look at an example. And I forgot to pull them up here, so let me see here. There. Let's see if ChatGPT comes through. All right. Let's try this. Oh, come on. Matthew 9:18. We may have used this example before. I remember looking at it recently. Okay.
On page 212, it has John 8:30.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. We're going to look at a couple of others, but that's good. Thank you. So here we are. While he was saying these things to me, a synagogue official came and bowed before me and said, blah, blah, blah. Here we are. So these things he was saying to them. Now notice we have an imperfect act of, bowed down. So we have a synagogue official right here, our archon, the official, bowed down to him or before him. Bow down before is the verb, so bow down before him. Notice that there's two participles that precede it. One follows that's actually pace. That's one, I believe. Yeah.
Something happened to the screen. Something happened to the screen.
Oh, look at that. What in the world? Huh. Okay. Okay. Guess that. No, it's not. It's not. Oh, it is it. That's it. All right. Wow, that's really weird.
60-degree weather.
It's that 60. Yeah. We're 63 weather. It's killing us here in California. Telling you, man. No.
We don't have it on our screen either. I don't know if that helps you. I don't know if they're linked or whatever.
Well, let's resolve that. Here we go. How's that?
Yep. Now we see it.
Okay. And I do not know what's going on with this here.
That bottom bar, it'll go away, but it takes an eternity.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. So here we are. So these things, notice we have here, in this case, a personal pronoun. That's genitive case, genitive singular, right? So masculine. That is the subject of this genitive it matches genitive number case, genitive singular masculine participle. This genitive case pronoun is the subject of this participle. It says, and it's adverbial, and it's still temporal. So while he was saying these things to them, saying things to them. So notice that he, being what, Jesus, to them, he is a different subject than, notice the official, which is nominative singular masculine, own ending there. Looks like a participle ending. It's not. Why does it have that ending? What kind of noun is it?
Like a third declension.
Third declension noun, of course. Yeah, that's why it's all whacked out. It's a wackadoodle. So the official came, and we don't say that in English, but well, the official bowed down, came, bowed down to him, saying, and then the content of saying of this participle, which would be adverbial, goes under the verb, and after that, the content of that saying would be that, and all of this would be the content of that. So
how do we know that the pronoun is modifying the, and the verb are together as opposed to the pronoun being with the demonstrative pronoun?
are you talking about the Aorist?
Yeah. Why isn't Autu, like, how do we know that Autu isn't part of Tauta? Like the things of him.
The Aorist is not part of Tauta. Oh, sorry. Yes. Well, notice this here is what gender, number, and case.
Oral,
Be or nominative
or nominative.
Accusative.
It's accusative. And this is genitive, singular. So he was saying these things to them.
So is it just because Autu is right next to the genitive verb participle?
It's genitive because it's genitive case, and next to it, it matches gendered number and case.
Okay, so it's because they're like right next to each
Yes.
other.
I don't think you'll see this. You wouldn't see this over here. Okay. You're going to see it in close proximity to this participle, and typically it's going to be preceding it. But notice that the tauta is the direct object of the participle. This participle has its own subject, and this participle has its own direct object. And it also has its own indirect object. There it is. Okay.
So I got a question. It's kind of, so because that's neuter and the ending doesn't that mean Talta I'm talking about? It could be nominative or accusative. Could you translate that nominative and just say like these things he was saying?
No, because in order for it to be the subject here, these don't take, it's going to be genitive case. So not participles usually do not have, they don't have, unless they're in a nominative case, they won't have a nominative case subject. An adverbial might.
So in the case of the
Usually.
genitive absolute,
The genitive absolute, it's got to be genitive case.
the subject is always genitive.
For a genitive absolute, the participle is always genitive case. It has a genitive case subject, and that subject is different than the subject of the main verb. That meets all three criteria. All right. Now, this participle also has this tauta as its direct object, and autois has its indirect object. So there's things packed around it. diagramming wise, I can go right on here now. Okay. It would be this, actually. Like that. Here. Now, tau ta would actually go here. And our toys would go here. Okay.
Would it be on a, it's not, it would be on a still.
No, here's okay. Now let's look at how you diagram one of these things. So let me pull that up. That's the next. The diagramming is so unique, it's going to scream genitive absolute. Almost literally. If the rocks could cry out, if this form could cry out, right? Dotted line. This means when you have a participle here, this means genitive absolute. It'll have its own subject, and this subject is different than this subject. These are two different subjects. They are not equal. And it can have its own direct object. Often, ta-ta. Okay. So here we have when, notice it's a temporal oriented participle here, when the disciples said these things, the apostles went away. Okay. All right. So that, my friends, is the genitive absolute. Genitive subject, genitive participle. Subject of participle is different than the subject of the main verb. That's it. Genitive absolute. All right. Well, I've got my other class I need to run to. Didn't have a chance to go through the vocabulary. Keep working on that. Keep working on the things in the back. Keep reading your Greek New Testament. You can do it. You should be reading it really well. I mean, actually pretty well, especially Gospel of John. There's words in there. You know plenty. You know a lot of words. Okay. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Not for salvation, but trust yourself for this. All right, Lord, thank you very much for tonight. We ask for your grace this week. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. So, God bless everyone. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.